Chapter 47. Palace Rats. Hildegard was on duty at the palace door when Grinch arrived, breathless and frazzled. "I've come on important business on behalf of the extraordinary wizard," puffed Grinch. "I need to see Silas Heap." "I'm afraid no one knows where he is, Mr. Grinch," said Hildegard apologetically. "The princess was looking for him earlier and could not find him." "He'll be with the counters, miss, up in the attic." Hildegard smiled at Grinch. "Well, you are welcome to go in, Mr. Grinch, and try your luck." "Thank you, miss." Grinch, still a little overawed by the palace, hurried past and disappeared into the shadows of the long walk. Minutes later he drew back a ragged curtain hanging in a dark alcove and took a long flight of dusty stairs up to the attic. At the top, Grinch pushed open the creaky door and peered in. At the far end of the long beamed loft space, he saw the flickering light of a candle. Silas Heap was exactly where Grinch had expected, in the unsealed room tending his counter colony. The counters were doing well, and at Grinch's approach Silas looked up, pleased to see his friend. "Look at this little fellow, Grinch. He is going to be a perfect tunneler. I'm training him, getting him used to wiggling through things. Look at him go." "Yeah, very nice, Silas, I'm sure, but I ain't come to watch your precious counters." Silas did not reply. He was down on his hands and knees, squinting into recesses under the floorboard. "Darn, he's gone. He's tunneled off." "Yeah, well, that's the trouble with tunnelers, Silas. Now look here, I've had the extraordinary on at me, and I've had to leave the good-for-nothing bridge boy on the gate, and Mrs. Grinch'll have my guts for garters when she finds that out, make no mistake, but we've got to put that painting back up here, and you got to seal the room again, pronto." "What are you going on about, Grinch? What painting?" "Here, boy, come on, boy, that's it. Oh, he's gone again. Darn." "The portrait of the crazy old bird in the crown, pointy nose and scary look in her eyes." "I'm not putting that thing back here. It'll unsettle the counters. It can go somewhere else in the attic if they don't want it downstairs." Grinch shook his head. "It's got to go back in here, Silas, back to where it was before, and you've got to seal it in like it was before and all. Matter of life or death, your boy said." Silas looked up. Grinch had his full attention now. "Which boy?" he asked, hardly daring to hope. "Your apprentice boy, Septimus." "Septimus? When did he say that?" "'Bout half an hour ago. He was with the extraordinary. She's got scary eyes and all, hasn't she?" In a flurry of dust, Silas leaped to his feet. "He's back! Septimus is back! Is he all right, Grinch?" Grinch shrugged. "Looked all right to me. Bit scruffy, I suppose." "And Jenna, is she back too?" "I don't know, Silas, do I? No one tells me anything, except to move pictures around or get shoved in the lock-up," Grinch said grumpily. "I must get to the wizard tower and see him," said Silas, gathering his dusty, ordinary wizard robes around him, and candle held high, setting off toward the little door at the far end of the attic. "He ain't there, Silas," said Grinch, running after him. "He's gone to the infirmary, got some cure for the sickenese or something. Silas, we gotta take care of that portrait or I'm in big trouble." Silas ignored Grinch. He rushed off, stumbling over the uneven floor, picking his way around the broken and rotten boards. Suddenly Grinch said something Silas had never heard him say before. "You've got to take care of that picture, Silas. Please." Silas stopped. "What did you say, Grinch?" "You heard." "Well, it must be serious." "All right, come on, Grinch. We'll fix the picture." It was a struggle getting Etheldrada's portrait off the wall. Silas got the impression that the picture had a mind of its own and did not want to be moved. Eventually, a vicious tug from Grinch pulled the painting, along with a great lump of plaster and the picture nail, away from the wall, and sent Grinch flying with it. Then, with a fair amount of what Sarah Heap called language, Silas and Grinch began the awkward task of manhandling the disapproving portrait up the attic stairs. "You'd think this thing had arms," muttered Grinch, after squeezing around a particularly tight corner. "Feels like it's holding on to the banisters." "Ouch!" gasped Silas suddenly. "Stop kicking my shins, Grinch. That hurt." "Weren't me, Silas. In fact, ouch! You can stop kicking my ankles." "Don't be silly, Grinch. I've got better things to do than kick your stubby little ankles." "Hey, that was my knee. You try that one more time, Grinch, and I'll—" "You'll what, Silas Heap? Huh? Huh?" Both Silas and Grinch were battered and bruised, and very near coming to blows by the time they reached the landing outside the attic door. They leaned the portrait against the wall and glared at each other, while the portrait glared at them. "It's her, isn't it?" muttered Grinch after a while. "I don't know how she's done it, but it's been her that's been kicking us." "Wouldn't be surprised," said Silas, accepting Grinch's peace offering. "Come on, Grinch, let's have a rest. We'll do this later. Fancy a game of counterfeit?" "Deluxe version?" asked Grinch. "Deluxe version," agreed Silas. "And no many crocodiles?" "No many crocodiles." On the floor below, Jenna and Sir Heereword were listening to the bumps and thumps above their heads. Jenna had returned to the palace, and unable to find Silas or Sarah, had gone to see Sir Heereword. He was at his usual post, half hidden in the shadows, leaning against a long tapestry that hung down beside the doors. "Good morning, fair princess. The palace rats do grow ever bolder, I declare." And the knight, pointing his broken sword up to the ceiling, where immediately above them Silas had got his foot stuck between two rotten floorboards. "Good morning, Sir Heereword," said Jenna, who had become used to noises in the attic ever since Silas had started cultivating his counter-colony. "They sound like two-legged rats with boots on to me." Sir Heereword looked at Jenna, as if searching for an answer to something that was bothering him. "You are safely returned after your absence?" he asked. "For as I recall, you were not here last night, nor the night before. 2 long nights indeed, for none knew where to find you." "'Tis good to see you, and with a little orange rug as a keepsake from your travels. How very charming." "It's a cat, Sir Heereword," said Jenna, holding Uller up to show the knight. Sir Heereword peered at the scrap of orange fur. Uller stared vacantly at the ghost, seeing only a time 500 years ago. "'Tis a poor kind of cat," observed the knight. "I know," said Jenna. "It's like he's not here any more." "Perchance your cat has the sickenese," said Sir Heereword. Jenna shook her head. "I think he's missing someone," she said, "just like I am." "Ah, you are strangely melancholy this morning, princess. But here is something to raise your spirits. What is the difference between an elephant and a tangerine? One's big and gray and has a trunk, and the other is small and orange." "Oh," said Sir Heereword, looking crestfallen. "Just joking. I don't know. What is the difference between an elephant and a tangerine?" "Well, I won't send you out to do my shopping then. Ha ha! Ho ho, Sir Heereword. You know where I went away, didn't you?" The knight seemed unwilling to answer. He poked his sword at his foot and fiddled with a loose plate of armor. "Only you can know that, princess. Where, pray tell me?" "I was here, Sir Heereword, and so were you." "Ah, I was here 500 years ago." Sir Heereword, who was an old ghost, was on the transparent side already, nearly faded away, but he recovered himself enough to say, "And you are back, safe, and only 2 days gone. It is a wonder, Princess Jenna, and it is a burden lifted from my old shoulders. Ever since you told me your name was Jenna, I have worried that one day you would disappear and never be seen again." "You never said." "I thought that it was not something you would wish to know, princess. It is best not to know what the future holds for us." Jenna thought of Marcellus Pye, knowing that he had at least 500 cold, dark years to spend alone in the old way, and she nodded. "I have so many questions to ask you about what happened in the past, Sir Heereword." "One at a time, princess. I'm an old ghost now, and my memories tire easily." "Just one today, then. Did Hugo get home safely?" Sir Heereword looked puzzled. "Hugo?" he asked. "You remember Hugo," said Jenna. "He was with us. Well, with Septimus, really. Wore a palace servant's uniform that was far too big for him." Sir Heereword smiled. "Ah, yes, I remember Hugo, and very pleased his mother was to see him, too." "I'm glad. Hugo was sweet." "Yes, he became a wonderful physician later, due to young Septimus Heap, he always said. But I shall cause you to tarry no longer. You will be wanting to go to your chamber and rest." Jenna shook her head. The memory of the little princesses crying behind the wainscoting was still fresh. "No, not just yet, thank you, Sir Heereword. I'm going to sit by the river." The autumn sun had warmed the old planks of the landing stage, and Jenna, comfortably upwind from Billy Potts' piles of dragon dung, was sitting with Uller on her lap, dangling her feet into the surprisingly warm water of the sluggish river. Beside her was a blue and white saucer full of mashed corn, and nibbling at the corn was a small naked duckling. As Jenna watched the corn steadily disappear into the duckling, her eyes grew heavy, and the blankets and cushion that she had brought down from Sarah Heap's living room seemed irresistible. Which is why, when the chief customs officer's launch drew up alongside the palace landing stage, Alice Nettles and Arthur Mella found a steadily breathing pile of crocheted blankets, with an orange cat with a black-tipped tail and a small stubbly duckling asleep on top of it. "It's Jenna!" Alice gasped, recognizing Jenna's dark hair and the golden circlet. "How did she get here?" "Are you sure?" asked the ghost, hardly daring to believe it. Arthur and Alice had come to the palace to break the terrible news of Jenna's and Nico's disappearance to their parents. Arthur had been ready to fly off alone, but Alice had insisted on going with him, and so Arthur had followed the customs launch on its long journey upriver, all the while dreading what he was going to have to say. "See for yourself," Alice smiled. "She's fast asleep." Gently, Arthur blew the covers back from Jenna's face and saw for himself. Jenna stirred at the ghost's warm touch, but slept on, exhausted. "Best to leave her sleeping," said Alice. "It's a warm afternoon, and she'll come to no harm." "Funny ducklings they have around here," said Arthur, as he and Alice wandered across the sunlit lawns toward the palace. "Must be a fancy new breed, I suppose."